What's up, everyone? Thomas here with ForReel Movie News and Reviews, and I am here talking with Blaine Thurier, the director of Kicking Blood, which is making its world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival this weekend. And I'm very excited to talk with you about this film, Blaine, and thank you for taking the time to discuss it with me.
Thanks for having me, Thomas. It's really exciting to be talking to somebody in my neighborhood, Bellingham.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just a
so
little
for,
way south of me. Yeah.
yeah, for those watching, Blaine and I were just chatting a little bit before we started and found out that we're both in the Pacific Northwest. I'm just south of the
Yes,
border and he's in Vancouver. So
the best place in the world.
I can agree
Yeah.
with that. How long have you been in Vancouver? Have you been there all your life?
Longer than you've been alive,
Okay,
probably.
well,
Yes. Yeah. A long, long, long time. I came from the Canadian prairies and moved out there
I see.
a while ago.
A while ago.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I do
Mhm.
enjoy my jaunts to Vancouver whenever I can, and I was mentioning that I'll be at the Vancouver International Film Festival, and it would be nice to meet up if that's in the cards.
That would be great. Yes, that would be
Awesome.
fantastic. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Kicking Blood. Can you give audiences a brief synopsis of what Kicking Blood is about?
Yeah, it's about a centuries old vampire. She's living in this cycle of being addicted to blood, and she decides that she wants to kick blood, um, get off of that substance, and become human again, reconnect with her humanity.
Yeah, it's interesting because that idea of kind of being addicted to something is a theme that resonates or that is with a few of the characters in the movie. And so tell me more about what made you decide to make that such a prominent part of this movie, and also how why vampires.
Yeah, exactly. Well, those things are totally tied together, right? When years ago trying to come up with like what's my next movie gonna be? Should I do a next movie? Yes, I have to. I can't stop. So I was just scribbling ideas, and I was thinking about the old timey monsters like the mummy and Frankenstein. Oh, vampires. Yes, vampires are interesting because they reflect us, so to speak, reflect us as humans, right? And so, talking to Leonard and my co-writer and Jennifer, my producer, we just thought, what thematically is interesting about vampires, and one of those things, aside from having to live in the dark and losing your humanity, you are also addicted to blood. So we thought, let's dive into that rather than talk about garlic and reflections and fangs and past.
Right, because I think for the most part, a lot of those other tropes of vampires, those are kind of set aside so that you can focus on this blood addiction that your main character Anna is dealing with, and the other characters that she encounters who also kind of have their own
Mm-hmm,
their own
mm-hmm,
addictions. So
mm-hmm.
this movie, Kicking Blood, is a very different movie than what you did before this, which was Teen Lust. And
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
we talked very briefly before we started about how interesting that movie was to me. Can you expand a little bit more on what made you decide to go in such a different direction from what you were familiar with in the comedy sector of filmmaking?
I don't know. What made me decide that? I don't know. You just you take what the ideas that are presented to you and you go in the direction that they take you.
Okay.
That's how it feels. It feels more like gravity rather than making decisions,
Oh,
right?
okay.
What
So
does, yeah, what movie wants to be made by you? It's
Mm-hmm.
sort of the way I look at it.
Well, it certainly sounds like a very organic way of going about the filmmaking process, and I
Mhm.
think that that authenticity in how you want to tell the story comes through. With the characters, you know, I've mentioned a couple of times that there are other characters who have their own addictions. One of them being Anna's best friend, Bernice, who is played by Rosemary Dunsmore. And
Mhm.
you know, she's a human character. Um, she's older and her health is deteriorating, but she's kind of dependent on these medications.
Mhm.
And and so there's her character, and then there's also another more primary character, which is Robbie, played by Luke Bilyk. And he has a alcohol issue. Alcoholism is something that he's struggling with, and realizing that he is just kind of done with controlling his life. And so there's a statement that Bernice makes later on in the movie where she says, um, because she's decided that she's not going to do the medication anymore. She just wants to, you know, live and not be dependent on anything. And she says, "I don't believe the lies anymore. I'm going on faith and sheer willpower." And that willpower
Mhm.
thing is such a
Mhm.
prominent theme here. I'm interested in what you are hoping for people to either take away or like think about with this movie in their own lives when they're looking at these characters grappling with their own vices.
Uh, well, I hope everybody takes something personal and unique to them from it,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so complicated. I mean, people become addicted to substances because they feel good, and they're fun, and then they become medication and become a way to cope with the impossible questions, like we're all gonna die someday, or
Mm-hmm.
I have a traumatic past that I'm trying to compensate emotionally for. Um, so I hope that we can all look at not only people we know with addiction issues, look at them with compassion, but also look at ourselves with compassion.
Yeah, I think
That's what I'm hoping. That's one message I'm hoping people take.
yeah, and I think that that's very well baked into this, and hopefully that you know, people,
Thank you.
as more people begin to watch the film, that you know, that's something that's, you know, people take away and can share is what's so incredible about this production. It's as you know, we're kind of talking about, it's a very serious subject matter, but vampires are fun. And so I'm very interested, are
Yeah.
vampire movies, it was this vampire movie fun to make? Did you like, are there any like fun stories about making the film or behind the scenes things that came with making a vampire movie?
It was there were trials and tribulations. We made it in the middle of lockdown. We made it in Sudbury, Ontario, which was in complete lockdown, and it's very, it was just uh I love Sudbury, but it was desolate and dead of winter. So um that's something that, it's like, it looks like, oh, how are we going to shoot a movie in the middle of this? But wait, you say, wait, no, this is an opportunity. This is going to help us thematically. So we had lots of, landscape shots and factories and dogs barking in the distance, and no people, just to
Mm-hmm.
give a sense of that feeling of darkness and loneliness and
Mm-hmm.
disconnection.
I think that
But it was fun to make.
it was
Yeah.
very cool. I think that that's interesting, and it makes sense. I remember there is one scene in the movie where Boris and Nina are in a club, and they're kind of luring someone in as a new victim so that they can,
Hmm.
you know, get high. And later on, Anna comes in to be a part of that. But in the club, it's so interesting because I mean, I imagine this was because of the lockdown. There's no other people there, but I think what that does is that it really helped hone in on the conversation and really helped make them the focal point of the scene and get sort of a lot of the distractions. So you're right. I mean, there's you worked with the situation very well in this, and I appreciate that, and I think that came through with some of the scenes that happen. Um, Tell me about how you assembled this cast. I think that there was a really great chemistry that happened here, particularly with Alanna and Luke as Anna and Robbie, and then Benjamin Sutherland plays Boris, and Ella Jonas Farlinger plays Nina. They are kind of a duo in this as well, and so all of the characters really had this great chemistry with each other. How did you assemble this cast?
It was a lot of there was no live auditions. So it was a lot of this, a lot of watching self-tapes and callbacks and working with people. It was just a massive search for people. I mean, we weren't on our budget, we weren't going to get names. But again, that was an opportunity. Let's give some actors, a chance, because I love discovery. So Alanna and Luke, they work a lot, but I was so happy to be able to give them leads, and to, it just all made sense. We just looked at literally hundreds of people, and this seemed like the best team and the best fit. And thank you for picking up on the chemistry, because we definitely felt that we were definitely a pack.
That's awesome. And when you're able to find that, particularly with the challenge of doing everything kind of remotely and virtually, in finding that talent, that can be a gamble. And so, well done on accomplishing that. I guess I am interested in if there are any other challenges that COVID and restrictions and lockdown posed on this production happening. I mean, I know COVID obviously affected everyone's lives, and you gave us a few examples. But like, were there any points where you were like really worried, like, oh man, I don't know if this is actually going to happen, or if there are any major roadblocks because of the restrictions?
Every day, all of the time. Yeah, it was just like, oh, they're gonna lock things down harder. But the move, like, the movie productions did it as safely as possible, with regular rapid testing, with masks and distancing. So it felt like it felt like the safest place to be. Shopping for groceries was a lot scarier than being on set. And also the COVID protocols sort of locked us into a ritual. We'd all stand in line and get our temperature and do the questionnaire. So it was a bit like athletes with their little rituals before a big game. So we were all very focused.
Well, I'm happy to hear that you guys were able to do production as safely as possible. That's fantastic. So, like I mentioned, world premiere here at the Toronto International Film Festival. I think at this point of the time of this recording, it's just the press and industry screening that's happened, and I think later today it goes onto the main platform.
We had an in-person public screening last night.
Okay, great. And well, I wanted to ask how. Oh, look, we have Luke here. Hold on one second. Let me get Luke in on the conversation.
Okay, great. I might have to. Yeah, great. There's somebody.
Of course, I want to be respectful of your time for sure.
But let's go.
My last question for you, Blaine. Luke, hey, welcome to the conversation.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm finishing up a question with Blaine, and then I want to talk with you if you have some time.
Go all for it. Yeah.
Blaine, I just want to know what the response has been so far. I had to watch it virtually, which it was still really great, but like the in-theater experience, what was the response?
It was you dream of people loving it, and people seem to dig it. Like everybody hung out for the whole Q&A. There were no walkouts, and people seemed wrapped. You can sort of sense an atmosphere in the theater among the audience, and it just felt right. you know, the spidey
Fantastic.
sense was tingling in the right way.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, Blaine, that was my last question for you. Again, Blaine Thurier is the director of Kicking Blood, which is having its world premiere at Toronto National Film Festival. If you need to hop off, Blaine, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're gonna hang in Vancouver.
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's make it
Okay.
happen.
All right. Okay. All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Thomas.
Bye, Blaine.
See you later.